Welcome to Creepy Conversations. I'm Nikki and I'm eating.
I'm Kalai and I can barely see shit because of my
For the aesthetic.
eyelashes. Falsies. But yeah, welcome you guys. Again, Nikki and I are recording almost nighttime, so it's weird. But we don't feel like we're ready as usual, but like
Today's different. Today feels different.
yeah.
I feel like every time our schedule is derailed by something, by the time it's recording time, we're just like, I have no idea. You see those PlayStation games, the dancing games, and then you miss a button, like a move,
Yeah.
and then your character starts like floating, like weird from their dance. It feels that way. I don't know. It's like,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
God damn it. Do you know the game Bust a Move? Bust a Groove?
Yeah. Bust a groove.
Groove, yeah. I think that's it. So they're like dancing right, and then if you miss a beat or like you press the wrong button, they start like floating.
Yeah. I now know what you're talking about.
It feels that way every time we don't do this like on our usual schedule. So it's like when we start recording, it's just all weird. But anyway.
By the way, how are you guys doing? How is COVID treating y'all? I hope you guys are all staying safe.
Yes.
And yeah, just stay safe and
get vaccinated.
Keep others safe. Yep. So the topic that we're going to be covering for this week is requested by our Patreon creeper Chester. But our topic is the first chop lady or the jigsaw murder of Lucila Lalu from the Philippines. So where Nikki and I are from. Sources for this episode are from Esquire magazine, the website Documentario ni Juan Tagalog, and Reddit. There's actually like a really good source on Reddit that has like the news clippings from the time that this happened.
You know what?
Yeah.
When you said chop lady, it brought me back to childhood. Because I feel like that's the term that we used for it. But for some reason, I don't know why, I related back to something scary. Like paranormal.
I feel like everything in our childhood was like, oh, death. Oh, it's now paranormal. Like that's what our parents did to us. I
don't know why.
Yeah, but that's the term that we have for cases of women that are like
they're literally chopped up.
They're chopped up, and like their bodies are. And she's the first one. There are multiple cases after her. They're not really like copycats, but I don't know why it keeps on happening in our country and why they're mostly women. But yeah, and Lucila Lalu, is the first one. Her case is still not solved to this day. Some of the other chop ladies, I don't like the term because it sounds like it's not real. A lot of the other cases are solved. She's technically the first one, and she's still unsolved to this day. So I'll let you know who she is and what went down. So. Oh, by the way, there are sources that say that her last name is Lulu, but based on the newspapers back in the 1960s, it's Lalu. And that's like a common, not really common, but that's more of like a Filipino last name than Lulu. I don't know anyone whose last name is Lulu.
I don't know anyone either.
But yeah, she was originally from Barrio Mapaniki in Candaba, Pampanga, but she moved to Manila when she was, in some sources, they say she was 21. Most of the sources say she's 21. Some sources say she's 28, but I don't think the 28 thing is real because she died when she was 28. And she's been around in Manila for a long time before she died. Yeah, once she got to Manila, she was able to get a job as a waitress at a nightclub in Manila's like nighttime party spots. And then she soon met Añano de Vera, a married patrolman. And some sources say that he's a policeman. Some sources say he's a patrolman. I don't know what's the difference, but I'm going to go with patrolman. They eventually moved in together and had a live-in common law marriage with each other with Anyano. And then she soon had a son with him. And because she was known to be hardworking, like that's how she was described. She was really known to be like really hardworking, and she was good with money too. So she was able to save up enough money to buy out the Pagoda Soda Fountain, which is a cocktail lounge and a restaurant, like all rolled into one. And it was located in Rizal Avenue. And because your girl is hardworking, business was booming for her, for Lucila, and she was able to earn and save enough money to launch another business, a beauty salon, and she named it Lucy's House of Beauty.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, it's so cute. And can you imagine like how cute that beauty salon must have been, like a 60s beauty salon?
Yeah. But then that's also
that's
how
so cute.
economy was great back then, because she could afford these things. Like she managed to afford these things.
Yeah. And you can also tell how hardworking she is because she's a woman. And I'm not saying, how it is, but of course in the Philippines we're more of a matriarch rather than a patriarch, I would say. Like we respect women more, but it wasn't really common for women to run businesses back then.
Yeah.
It was more of
It's a male thing
that.
before.
Yeah. It was usually like the males would open up the business and then the women would like
Manage it.
be the brains behind it.
Yeah.
So she was the one who was like, yeah, I got it all. She was a mother too, so she was girl bossing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was girl bossing it. And she had another lover, and she even got an apartment for him and supported the dude. His name was Florante Relos, and he was like a younger guy. He was a waiter at one of her businesses. So she was like,
Mama is a sugar mama.
yeah. And not only that, she had other lovers too. She had an unnamed executive of a printing firm. So she wasn't only like, I got a younger dude, I got another dude
She
who
a
isn't
baller.
young. Yeah. And then she had another lover, Jose Luis Santiano. So they say that he was good looking, like that's what he was known for. So she was like, check.
How was the hubby?
I want it. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
They resulted into the trouble of Lucila's relationship with Añano de Vera, but they still lived together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people knew that they weren't in love with each other anymore, but they like still lived together because they had a kid together.
Yeah.
And they lived together until her death. And then, even though I don't condone cheating, it was like, because, cheating is whack, but she was like, I want it. I got it. She was like, you like my hair? Gee, thanks. I got a beauty salon. You want me to book you an appointment? And she was only 28 when she was doing all of this. Like, businesswoman, wife, mother, and side dudes. Like, how do you have the time?
And money.
Yeah, you can tell people did not have social media back then because they had all this time.
For sure. Take back social media. We don't need this.
Yeah. Lucila said, I'm your daddy.
For real.
And she also did not know how to stop. But unfortunately for her, she got like more than what she asked for.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime around late May 1967, she disappeared. And then on May 28, so in other newspapers, it says May 30. Some newspapers also say May 31, but most of it say May 28. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm not sure if that's when she went missing or when her body was first discovered, but let's go with May 28. A sanitary worker who was just out and about minding his business doing his job collecting garbage. This poor man at his stop at Malabon Street, very close to Lucila's cocktail lounge, sanitary worker found human legs cut neatly into 4 parts and wrapped in a newspaper. The sanitary worker stated that the legs were cold, like they were stored in a freezer before it was dumped, which for me is a big clue because a freezer in the 60s in the Philippines, they're only common for like rich people. From what I know, like the middle class could afford a refrigerator,
Yeah.
but not a freezer.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's a clue, or maybe I'm like,
Yeah.
if you guys know what the statistics are for fridge ownerage, let us know.
I
But
think
yeah.
we would have studies of that. We just don't know where to look for it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I think the what do you call this? Sanitary workers have very interesting lives. I feel like it's always them who has these traumatic experiences.
They find shit
Yeah. It's like
that we throw away.
they were probably like, I was only gonna clean the place, but I didn't really ask for this.
Yeah. Also, the newspaper that she was wrapped in was dated May 14, 1967. I don't know why that mattered, but like in every newspaper that I read and every source that I read, that was mentioned. So maybe
That's probably like the day. Wait, no. It could have been backdated or something.
yeah, maybe they just had it lying around. But yeah. Another thing about the freezer, though, I just want to go back to it. We can eliminate the lower class because a lot of them didn't have freezers back then. So who were the people that she knew that belonged to these social classes? Like,
Or maybe
that
she
could hold
had a
a grudge.
freezer. And
yeah, she had a business.
yeah. And I mean, like, she had the, what was the other one? The
And
bar
it was near
thing?
her
Restaurant,
her
whatever.
cocktail bar.
Yeah, so she would probably have a freezer. It could have been someone she knew. It could have been her freezer.
Yeah, we don't know because
We're
don't know.
we're trying to guess something, and we barely even like mentioned any other clue yet. It was just a freezer. Fuck.
But yeah, they soon found a headless and legless torso next to the Epifanio de los Santos Avenue near Guadalupe Bridge, also wrapped in newspaper. The body was identified through fingerprints, and they like found out that it was Lucila. And they estimated that she might have died on the evening of May 28 or the morning of May 29. And she was 1 month pregnant when she died. So maybe that's one of the causes why she died. Because maybe whoever fathered that kid didn't want her. We'll talk about that later on. There are no reports that her head was ever found.
Fuck.
And we also, to this day, still don't know who the father of her baby is. So we don't know if it's
One
her
of
husband or her common law husband or one of the dudes that she was high-fiving.
Wait. What was the date of the newspaper again?
May 14, and she disappeared later than May 14.
But they thought that she died when?
May 28 or morning of May 29.
Oh, okay. That doesn't make sense then. Anyway, let's forget I said anything.
We're trying to solve this.
Yeah, no, because you said that it was never solved. So, I mean,
Yeah.
get your thinking hats on.
Maybe. Where was I? So the investigators said that Lucila's murderer was likely someone who knew what they were doing, like skilled with severing someone. Like they had some sort of medical knowledge or like was
Probably a butcher.
yeah, like I was about to say that like someone who knew how to cut joints and like body parts. in a clean way. So yeah, either a butcher, a surgeon, or even a pre-med student. So someone who had those interests.
Interests. Wow.
But I feel like the butcher is like the closest thing because anyone could have that hobby.
It's quite common for us too. Like, you don't even have to work as a butcher for you to like have that skill in the Philippines, I would say.
Especially back then when the jobs were limited.
Yeah. For
You
all
know,
we
maybe
know,
they had that.
he was probably selling lechon or something.
Yeah, or he was like, they had a business when he was younger and he was like assigned to it. Whatever. Maybe they could look into that. So the police immediately looked for suspects because, I mean, sure, it's like a common thing for us in the Philippines, but for someone in her circle, maybe, you know, they could eliminate who these people are
Hmm.
that don't have that experience. And of course, her lovers became the targets of suspicion. So they first looked into the younger dude, the waiter, Florante Relos. He was a 19-year-old waiter at the Pagoda Soda Fountain. He was the prime suspect at first, but then they realized that he wouldn't have the motive because Lucila was supporting him. Like
Right.
Lucila was paying his apartment, his like stuff and all of that.
So it doesn't make sense for him to kill her because then he would lose the money.
Yeah. And then one of the cashiers at the Pagoda Soda Fountain also said that Lucila had already broken up with Relos at that time when she was murdered. And they believe that they were like it was a clean breakup. It wasn't like
Okay.
a bad breakup or whatever.
Okay.
It was also said that Relos and his friends had knowledge on Lucila's whereabouts during the time of the murder, as they were told that she would be at the beauty parlor when they wanted to see her. And some witnesses also came forward that said that they saw Lucila being dragged into a taxi by Relos and his friends in front of the parlor, but the the accounts were never verified. And because this was back in the 60s, there were no like CCTVs yet.
Right.
He also had the reason why police removed him as the prime suspect because he had an alibi. He claimed that he had been out drinking with his friends at the time that they think her death took place, so like the evening of May 28 and the morning of May 29. Then two of his friends confirmed his alibi. And again, they go back to like the motive. He most likely like needed her even though they weren't like together, like even if they would take into account that they weren't together anymore, he could still have her back and still ask her to like pay for him for his like
Yeah.
lifestyle. So they like removed him as the prime suspect because they see Relos needing Lucila alive more than
Yeah.
her dead. And then the second suspect was her common law husband, Añano de Vera. Many people knew that, you know, that they already were having problems because Lucila was known to be in a relationship with other people. And he was also known to be
Was he abusive?
he was prone to like bursts of anger.
Right.
And there was like an incident of him firing off his service gun 3 times inside Lucila's businesses, the Pagoda Soda Fountain and the parlor,
The fuck?
the month before she was killed.
Well, if I was with someone like that, I would also try to look for another partner.
Yeah. So we don't know if he was beating her, like physically abusing her, because you know how it was before people kept those things
Yeah,
as secret.
They keep quiet about those things.
Yeah. So we don't know if he was physically abusive, but from the looks of it, like, you don't really bring a gun to your common law wife's business.
Yeah, the fact that he has anger issues is already like a red flag.
Red flag. Yeah. Relos also testified that he was threatened by De Vera after De Vera found out that they had a thing. Lucila and Relos had a thing. And he was even beaten up by De Vera at the Pagoda Soda fountain. And the police could not find any evidence connecting De Vera to the crime because he had a quote unquote strong motive. De Vera said that he had dinner with Lucila in her beauty parlor on the night of her disappearance at around 6:30 p.m., but he left immediately after. And then witnesses did back up saying that they found Lucila sleeping in her salon at around 7:30, which would like contradict the testimony of Relos, where he said that they met in the Pagoda Soda fountain at 7:30. And then
that in itself is already fishy.
There are a lot of like inconsistencies to their stories, all of them. Because Relos, his story has inconsistent stuff. And then De Vera, I can't really trust him because he's like a policeman. What if he like has friends on the other side that are protecting him?
Right.
So I can't really trust
anyone.
Yeah. And then they couldn't find any hard evidence that his alibi that he left immediately. Like, what if he was just in the back or like just waiting for people to be gone? A setup. Yeah. Like he was just waiting for people to be gone. Then he like went in the beauty salon. Yeah. So, we don't know. She also had the unnamed lover, who was also like another suspect, the executive of the printing firm. I think he's a powerful dude because his name was never like in the report.
Yes.
So either he's powerful or he has a lot of money to.
He has connections.
Yeah, he has connections to be like, no.
Because like, how can you hide your identity like that, but then all the rest of her lovers get to be laid out there,
It was noted that he was the suspect because of the cardboard material used in wrapping the newsprints found under Lucila's torso. But the police say that he had an alibi for the night, and then they say that the alibi was solid, so they didn't investigate him further. Wink, wink.
Oh my God.
And then on June 15, 1967, the last known lover, Jose Luis Santiano, the one that I mentioned was like a handsome dude, he was also married. And she got a thing for married dudes. She was like, I want what I can't have.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I mean,
keep it spicy.
Good for her. I mean, good for you, girl. But that's not right.
She wanted things the hard way, man. Like, she wanted a challenge.
Yeah, she was challenge accepted. He was also a father of 5, and he had like a handwritten statement that he had a mental blackout, that he could only remember strangling Lucila to death.
What?
Yes. So Santiano, he was a 28-year-old father of 5, married. He was a dental student. And of course, he was known as like one of the lovers, and he had like a spare room in her parlor. His initial testimony said that Lucila attempted to seduce him, and then when he refused, she created a scandal. And that was apparently when Santiano experienced his blackout and killed her.
That was like quote unquote killed her.
In his testimony, he said that he dumped her head in Quezon City and that he carried parts of her body in paper bags and boxes. Paper bags and boxes. When Santiano's room was later checked, police found bloodstains on the floor and other materials such as a kitchen knife, a razor blade, a blood-stained hammer were also found. I don't know why there was a hammer used when her body was like cut perfectly, so we don't know.
But in fairness, they said they never found the head, so he could have like whacked her first and then chopped her up.
Maybe that's why her head isn't found, because was never found. Because, however, Santiano did retract his statement, and he said that he was not the murderer, but he was an unwilling witness to the crime.
What?
Yeah, and he said that crime was carried out by 3 men, and he said that while the murder did happen in the mezzanine of the parlor where his room was located, he said that the 2 men killed Lucila, where the 3rd man held him at gunpoint. Then a 4th man allegedly appeared and planted evidence, blood, the razors, the other stuff in his room over the next few days. And then not over the next few days, sorry, planted in his room. And then over the next few days, he received notes threatening him to keep his mouth shut, to keep quiet about the whole thing.
But why did he decide to not do that now? What?
He was scared because they were threatening him and his family because he had plenty of children.
Yeah, no, but like, why did he kind of decide to like change his mind and retract his statement? You know what I mean?
Maybe he just was like, wait, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought, I was just gonna be like the fall guy and then people weren't gonna believe me and like I was just gonna, I don't know. Maybe he's supposed to be smart because he's a dental student, but maybe he didn't think it through. Then they found like a mystery witness, but they put her name anyway. Her name is Dr. Nora Ebio. She came forward and testified that Santiano had been forced into confessing to the crime. And then because of that, he was let go and he was found not guilty of the crime. And although the police still believes that it was Santiano that did the murder, they couldn't really pinpoint him because I don't think they found his prints on any of the stuff. So there wasn't solid evidence against him aside from the fact that the stuff were in his room.
Why do I feel like they did such a lousy job at investigating the whole situation?
This was the 60s, man. You know how cops were back then?
It was like, yeah, we love...
They're a little bit worse than the cops now. Sorry.
You know how when you're looking for something and you just kind of wiggle your hands around like, nah, it's not there. It's bye. I'm done looking. The whole thing feels that way. And it's more like, hey, can you help me find this? Oh, I know it's not there. Okay, then I'm not going to bother looking for it.
I feel like because his room was in the salon, that's why they were like, we can't really pinpoint it to him because his room is in the scene of the crime. What if she was killed here and it just so happens to be his room? Because it wasn't really the room of his own room in his own house. It was
yeah, it was like a
room.
I hate the term. The love room.
It was their secret room, that.
The fuck?
Which was technically still part of the.
It's her property, yeah. No, but this random mystery witness. Where did she come from?
And why did they name her if she was a mystery witness? It's so wild.
Right? What is the connection? And she's a doctor, was it?
And I read in like the comments of one of the sites that I was reading
Mhm.
that Santiano, because he's very good looking, he became like a small time actor because of all this. Like he was discovered and they offered him movie roles and he became like kind of a small time actor, but he didn't become famous.
He's
But
like a
like it's
B-list.
crazy how he was like a murder suspect,
Oh my god, people.
now an actor.
Why am I even still surprised they did this with Issei Sagawa and Charles Sabraj? Was it?
Yeah.
Like, why do we do this, people? They do not
Yeah,
deserve
pretty
any.
privilege.
Yes, like what? Anyway, getting back to the topic, this whole case is so problematic.
Yeah. I do have a theory though. I think for me the most believable suspect would be Agnano de Vera. I think that's the reason why they were like, as you said, they were just wiggling their hands around, not really doing their jobs
Mhm.
because they know who actually did it. Because for me, Santiano seems like a good suspect, but I feel like at the back of their hearts and their heads, they know that he wasn't the
So it's like,
killer.
nah.
Let him go. Because why would they let him go if they had like they could pin it down to him?
Right.
Had all the stuff in his room. But then they were like, you know what? It's not really that strong, and he has a quote unquote alibi.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just let him go. Like that's how I feel like what the police did.
It's like I'm too guilty to pin this on him, so let's just leave this case open. But what do you think is the motive? Like, why do you think she died?
I feel like if De Vera was the murderer, probably because she was cheating on him. And also, I feel like because her business started booming when they were together, I feel like he feels that she owes him something.
Mhm.
'Cause you know how men are. Not all, but like you know how they are. You know, abusive men are like
Yeah.
they have this thing of like I own you, and I feel like that's how he was, and maybe he realized that oh shit, like she's doing really good on her own, and she doesn't need me anymore, so that's why I
It
feel like he
does
was.
seem like a crime of passion because if you just want someone dead, you would probably just shoot them or stab them or whatever. But then the killer really took the time to chop up her body and like, mess things up.
And it feels like he didn't really he whoever the killer was wasn't trying to hide her body, like they
I
just
was like,
threw her
oh,
away.
I want to distribute her.
But my thing with Santiano's like alibi of like he was held at gunpoint and there were like three dudes that were that like killed her and
Yeah.
chopped her up. Like I don't know, maybe police work wasn't that good back then, but I feel like they would notice that there's like inconsistencies with how she was chopped off.
It just feels like a lot, don't you think? Like he was held at gunpoint and then they killed her in front of him. Why the fuck would I leave a witness? Like I would kill you too. The fuck? I don't understand.
Unless whoever did this was like power tripping and was like, haha, I'm gonna leave you, torture you for life because you stole my wife. And I'm like really trying to pin it onto her
Yeah.
because you stole my wife. So I'm gonna like try to pin it on you so you'll, but also I don't know. This whole thing is so insane.
Yeah. But I also feel like it was easily solvable. It's just the police suck.
Yeah. Also, maybe they didn't have. Let's give them a benefit of the doubt, I guess,
Right.
because this was in the 60s. Maybe they didn't have like the stuff that we have now. Like what the stuff that we have now to solve it. Because I feel like in the 60s here in the Philippines, they wouldn't be like, oh, are the cuts inconsistent?
Right.
Like I feel like they would just be like, oh, this is clean. Like, the cut is clean. Someone who has experience. Like, I think that's just it. It's not like how it is now where you're like, the cut is clean, but is it done by the same person? Like, is it,
Yeah.
how are the cuts like that consistent with each other? So you can tell that it's one or more than one person.
Yeah.
If the cuts are inconsistent, like, you know what I mean?
But then again, one of them has like the inconsistent alibi, and I feel like they just like let it slip so easy. And they didn't really like.
I feel like they all had inconsistent alibis. Like,
For all we know, they probably ganged up like, oh, she's cheating on all of us together.
yeah.
No, I doubt guys are like that. That would be a girl thing, I think.
Yeah. Guys are like, I'm good, dude.
I was like, bro. I wonder what the
I don't
creepers
know.
think.
I don't know about. No, I really don't believe that Santiano did it. I take that back. I kind of doubt him now
Why?
because he's a dental student, so maybe he has like experience with. Do they have surgery?
Yeah.
Dental surgery.
Yes,
Right?
they did. I got that done.
Yeah.
The light.
So we don't know. Also, there's one last theory that I didn't mention yet. It's the George Hodel theory. George Hodel is like one of the prime suspects for the Black Dahlia case. His son, Steve Hodel, claims that his father, George, was the killer of Black Dahlia. So she was like, if you guys don't know, I'm sure you guys know, but Black Dahlia was like the actress who was also kind of like a chop lady, and her body was like left in LA.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like also clean and whatever. According to Steve Hodel, George's son, George spent some time in the Philippines, and it was around the same time that Lucila died. And he said that he has the skill to cut Lucila's body the way it had been, and he would have been wealthy enough to own a car and a freezer when he lived in the Philippines at that time.
That is so wild.
Yeah, I feel like this is a reach. Oh, one last thing, why he believes that it was his dad, because he was living in EDSA, which is very near Guadalupe Bridge, where Lucila's body was found. Her torso was found. Yeah, her torso was found. But I feel like this could be a reach because how did they get to know each other? Like, why did George Hodel choose her?
Exactly.
And I feel like people would notice a white dude
Yeah.
in the Philippines throwing bodies. Like, I feel like people would.
Just the fact that he's white, period, in the Philippines, like that in itself would already draw attention. No, I don't want to accept that theory. That is so wild, man.
Yeah. But his theory regarding his dad killing Black Dahlia, it is very interesting. Like, if you guys can read about it, there's some meat to
Meat.
It isn't just bones, but there's some meat to it. So yeah. Also, one of the reasons why I don't believe that George Hodel was responsible for Lucila's case was that I don't think that Lucila would also willingly go with a white dude. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like based on her,
She doesn't seem like it. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't even want to consider.
yeah. It's fun to be like, oh, Lucila's like, her case is like mentioned in this thing, but I don't think George Hodel was the dude behind.
That is so random. Like, if you come to think of it.
Yeah, people like, especially Filipinos, we love to observe and gossip. Like, we are shameless about our, or like, how much we love gossip.
For real.
People will literally, like, if they hear like, what do you call it? Like, stuff out in the street, people will literally go out in the street and like look at it. Like,
They will like.
we're not shy about
They'll be all up in your business. And they wouldn't
Yeah.
even be like embarrassed to go straight up and say, "Hey, what's up? What happened here?"
Yes.
Like they will literally ask. They want the information. Like you can't
is
keep
so
a
true.
secret. Everyone, like the walls have ears in the Philippines.
Yeah, that's so true. And you've seen those like TikToks of like black parents that are like how they make sure that you know that they're watching you. Filipinos are like
It's the
that,
same.
exactly like that. Like our parents will be out there in their dusters, out in the gate with their hands and their hips, like
Even if they're
looking at
just
what-
like they just got out of the shower and in their towels, if they see gossip, they're right there. They
Yeah.
don't give a fuck.
Nothing can stop mothers when it comes to gossip. So I doubt that a white dude can like throw like body parts in inconspicuously without
And I mean,
anyone
like, even if,
noticing, like,
say that were the case, it would have gotten to the police as well. Like, the police would have considered that in the first place. So, yeah, I don't.
would they
I think so. Or at
would
least,
the
like, in
police
their
consider a
notes.
foreigner?
Okay, they may not investigate him, but they may casually mention him in the reports if it ever came up.
Oh, probably. I agree. Because the police here are, especially back in the 60s, are petty and they would love to put a foreigner
Yeah,
in jail. That would be like
this
the
is clout.
bucket list. Like that would be like, yeah, that would be like their thing.
That was
we
the
saved our tiny Filipino countrymen from a big bad white dude.
What?
That would be like they would love that shit.
That's what cloud chasing looked like before.
Filipinos were cloud chasers.
Oh my god, we really bad mouthing. I feel like every other episode we're bad mouthing the police. I'm sorry, you guys don't make it easy on us too.
Yeah. I mean, sure, not all. Wink. That's all I gotta say.
This is us low key saying do better.
Better also to everyone also listening. Guys, let's do better. Be better to each other. Let's not go chop people up.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not no slicing and dicing, chopping and
Outside the
whatever.
kitchen.
That's not good. Yeah. No, humans are off limits.
I wanted to know if like the listeners have their own theories, and if you guys do, you can always send it to us on our website. That's I was gonna say creepy convos, but I mean you can still reach us there. It's creepyconversations.com, or you can follow us on our socials at Creepy Convos on Facebook and Twitter, and Creepy Conversations at Instagram. And
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Please review us. It really helps us.
yeah, for real. On Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcast to. And if you want to see us in action, I swear to God, if you think this audio is chaotic, watch our video on patreon.com/creepyconvos. And thanks for creeping, you fucking creeper.
And remember, the government is always watching you. Bye.